we see is that, yeah, one of the things that we see is that just to have some, take away some of the misnomers about Africa. In terms of just the gospel work, I always say that just like when we go to Israel, getting into Israel is a pain. They grill you. They ask you a lot of questions. Those of you who have been on the trips with me, they actually also, it's like they don't want you to be, they don't want you to visit Israel. But when you get on the ground, that is where the beauty of the experience begins. And so just like in Nigeria and in Kenya, Tanzania, we have a great church there. You have some in Uganda, Botswana. Um, the level of poverty, yes, is 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 there. But Africa is not poor. There are just poor people in Africa. Africa is rich. That's why all of the countries have their go for the minerals and the oil and the diamonds. That's why I don't think I want to buy any diamonds because the people who is um, you know going for the diamonds, they are getting paid next to nothing. It's a level of protest against um, this world of capitalism and greed. So, so Nigeria and Africa, they're not poor. They're rich in minerals. I mean, Nigeria has the largest asphalt plant in the world. In Africa, creates the most rice, right? You have um, the largest stock exchange. Um, you have the longest concrete road in Africa is in Nigeria. You have the largest airline, which is in Ethiopia. You have the most streamed music in Africa. Most people watch African movies. I've never been watching them, but the people like to watch African movies. Those are shot in Nigeria. So there is a stigma because I think that if I probably have said, let's go on a cruise, I think more people would have gone on a cruise maybe than what we did to Nigeria because there's a stigma. You have people who are quote unquote scammers. That's what we know, but we know that there's scammers everywhere. Um, you have a situation where the before, because even Bishop Dekai, who's here, he would tell you. Bishop is there. He probably went out to come back. Oh, okay. Bishop would tell you. I see you now. He would tell you that the first time that he went to Nigeria, he had a rough experience. He mentioned it last week too, as well in our talk last week. Um, but then he decided to go back, and he took me the first time, and I went back twice since then. He took me the first time. So first of all, tell us how is Nigeria itself doing? Then give us an idea as to what you're seeing happening in Africa in terms of the churches of God 7 day, in terms of what is the future, the outlook, the stronger, what are some of the ailments. We'll talk about some of the things that we think that Americans can help you with, specifically in Nigeria, because something as simple as ice is not something that it's just different culture. Like there's no ice like laying around like you get ice with. It's not something that the culture is just totally different, and you have to adapt. But I appreciate that because I understand that as immigrants coming to America, um, as much as they can say that we will call, sometimes they'll call you. I don't know if you know the term, but they call you a gasso. Those of you who are from the Leeward Islands, maybe, is a French word for like dude, or I don't know what gasso mean. We, but it is, yeah. So they will call you these they call you these names, and so we are not Americanized to the fact that we don't understand what tribulation and struggles are. We grew up in poverty. We have rich people now in the church, but we grew up in poverty. We have people who have a lot of money, as you can see by the way that they dress and what they have on. All right. So, so how would you say, how is Nigeria doing, and what do you think um, is some of the great things happening right now in the church realm?
I want to thank you, Dr. Gill, for this forum, and I want to thank everybody who is here today. When I was speaking today earlier on, I did say that when you have a great destiny, it also means you're going to attract a strong demonic force. Nigeria is such a strategic country that God had raised for African continent. It has one of the strongest population and all of that. So the prevalence of Satan, the enemy, is also there, especially with our leaders. The leaders are doing a lot of merchandise with the foreigners, with the white people, and all of that. And so they enslave the country for their selfish gains. Like you said, the country is very rich with everything, but they rather want to ensure that they are better off while they sell off, take loans and all of that, and impoverish the country. As I speak right now, our the naira has been so devalued that it's crazy. We have oil all over the soil now in Nigeria, but you know what they do? These people, they will go and build refineries outside the country. They will buy the crude from Nigeria, take it outside the country, refine it, and sell back to us. And we don't have enough power, in Nigeria, light. Not because we cannot have it, but there are people who sell generators, and they say that if they have light, they can't sell anymore. So they sabotage that effort to make it. So these are the things that we are going through in the country. But this is it. When you look at the map of Africa, Nigeria is where you have the trigger. It's like a gun. But Nigeria is where you have the trigger. Nigeria is so pivotal in the plan of God. But thank God for the church, because Jesus said when Judas Iscariot was trying to stop the woman that gave the alabaster oil, he said, "Why is he doing this? Would have given to the poor." And Jesus said something: "The poor you always have with you." So, and the Bible says, when you give to the poor, you give to the Lord. So God has made such a way that there should be a balance in the body of Christ. We are having a lot of challenges in terms of infrastructures and
Saw that too.
things that when you came, it's all there. So there's not much we can do, because it's something that has to do with you have to partake in compromising the faith for you to be able to do certain things. And now you don't want to compromise, so you're on your own. So it's a question of people are really struggling. Now the fuel price has gone so high that the people are really going through a lot of challenges. It's hard for people to eat, to feed. Going to school is a challenge. And so all of these things are part of what the enemy is using to weaponize especially Christians. Because when they cannot eat, they can't come to church. Even when they come to church, they are sleeping, they don't have transport. So they get weaker and weaker and weaker and weaker. But God is calling us to a place where we can rise up and make a difference. And that's why, like you said here today, there's a need for us to look beyond where we are and see how we can stretch our hands and help. In terms of the Church of God in Nigeria and Africa, I still think that there's need for the leaders to come together in unity to do a lot more. But everybody might not be at the same place, but some of us are ready to go everywhere and make sure that things are happening. So I think that it is time for us to reach out and see how we can cross the balance.
Right. So yeah, that's true too. I mean, I think it's like that in every country for the most part. I mean, America just has the same thing that you say is wrapped into laws or clauses that um, somebody who is making, who is, let's say, the middle class, because we have class system,
Yeah.
right? You have the working poor, no more poor, just the working poor, middle class, and then what's the other class? Maybe rich, whatever the case, and there's filthy rich. But the people who are the richest pay less taxes, but it's in the law, so it doesn't look like it is corruption or illegal. They legalize their corruption.
That's right.
So what they call a loophole. So a loophole is that you're supposed to be doing this, but you can you're supposed to be paying this, but because you are providing X amount of jobs or you're in this category, then you don't have to pay that. So it's a loophole. And so in America, it's more organized. As let me, the attorneys are here. It's organized, organized chaos. So, what is the difference you think between how we view God in the American society and how do people view God in Africa? Primarily, you could just leave it to Nigeria, but how do you see? Because like when we went to South Africa, um, we went with Bishop and we went to South Africa. Um, Everyone has this godly, fearing, aura, like you said, in 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 those places. The commitment, the level of commitment to just the church and just how they're structured is very different than in the American spaces. So you travel a lot. You've been everywhere. You've been Jamaica. You've been to US. You've been to St. Croix. You're going all over the place. Now you're here in New York. What do you think are like some of the differences between how like we look at God in America and how you think that the Africans perceive God?
I think I would put it this way. It's just like the climate. When I left Nigeria, I was in England and I was in UK for about 2 weeks. That place was freezingly cold. I was looking for something to keep myself warm all the time. So, and I now began to understand why people in the UK are always depressed. Very gloomy. You're always, cold. Then I came out of that place and I came into New York. I was thinking New York would have been like
Cool.
cold, but it was nice. Oh, thank God. The next thing I found myself is in St. Croix. It was sunny. It was very hot. And I was looking for some fan and in AC.
Yeah.
And then from there to Jamaica, hot also. Same thing with these environments. Nigerian or African climate is so tensed with activities of poverty, lack, witchcraft, and all sorts of things. So you definitely have to react according to your climate spiritually. But when you come to different, for instance, here now, you walk on the streets, sometimes I see in New York here, people are always eating something, they're drinking something, even in the church, they're taking tea and all of that. It's hard you find it, in Africa because of the level of challenge people have. So people have to seek the face of God and cry to God and be tough in the environment. So the spiritual climate is such that when you are in such a place like you just have to be alive. And the more you practice these things, the stronger you become. So I want to say to people that Africa is a very good training ground when it comes to spirituality.
That's true.
Yeah, you have to fight. You have to really, really fight on your knees to really make it. I remember one time I came here and I was praying. Somebody came to me in the castle and said to you, "Why are you always shouting when you are praying?" I said, "It's because you've not seen hunger."
Right.
Because when you are in an environment where you have everything, you don't have to struggle.
Right.
You're comfortable. you sleep well, you have blankets, and you complain.
Yeah.
But what you have is big thing outside there. So it's the climate. So that's why I said to yours that we need to now be in a place where we say, okay, whatever is happening to my brother and sisters in Africa is happening to me. Whatever is happening to people in America is also happening to me. So some of us have been given the grace. It's just the grace of God that enables us to travel around to strike a balance. We take what is in Africa, we come and tell those in America, and this then American also back like that, and then see there's a balance. That environment of heat, spiritual heat, that is lacking in America, we need to bring it to window change, so that we can come alive and this, all of that. So I think that it's a part of the atmosphere and spiritual climate. But the thing is that Satan does not respect you, whether you are in Africa or you're in America or anywhere. There are principles that you must follow. But those of us in Africa have a lot more work to do because of the challenges and the economy and all of that. But here there are things that are very, like the people here who are senior citizens, they don't struggle. I mean, you respect them, you honor them. If you work, you get paid for your work and all of that. But it's not that same thing out there. So
Right. One of the things that we noticed too as well is that everyone seemed like they had a skill in Africa. When we were driving, everyone, so you're right. Like we recycle, some people put the recycle in, the recycle goes to this big, warehouses across New York City, and then we ship them over to Pennsylvania or some other place that has a contract for us. We don't get to see it. In Africa, you have to pick up the recycle. The way that you might have a backhoe on those machines, that's not there. They work with their hands. There were a lot of people who was building bed sets. Every single person was selling something.
And they are selling.
And they were selling. Little children, young boys in the middle of the street selling candies and cakes and drinks and whatever you want to name, you could buy it on the street. And everybody was doing something. Everyone was engaging. The work is harder. And for me too, I feel to me that we see our privilege in the world when we visit. That's why they say the people who travel kind of have a better sense as to what the world has to offer. That's why traveling is a very important thing for us, especially leaders in the Church of God 7 Days, so that they can compare and see. When we went to South Africa, Pastor D, we had a issue that came up. Were we in South Africa? Yeah, South Africa, where they were trying to stay warm in the nighttime, and they had to decide whether or not they leave the fire on Friday night all throughout the night. And they said, listen, we can't afford the wood. And we had to discuss with the leaders, is it okay to light the fire so that you can have heat? In America, we don't have that conversation. You're just talking about lighting fire to have food. This is, you're trying to stay alive. What do you do? And we appreciate those conversations even more. We cannot bring our American mindset to say, oh, well, you can't light fire on the Sabbath because you're freezing cold. You don't have a heater. You're in the middle of, and those winters in South Africa is harsh too as well, even in Nigeria. When we went to Nigeria, when we went to the camp, I think this was with El Raja when he came with me that time, the fire was going all night. They were cooking. You can't turn it off. That's the stove. That's what you're going to eat with. You don't have a stove like you go downstairs and you turn on a stove or you put it in. This is outdoor fire, cooking food so that we all could eat. And I was like, I'm grateful for it, So what do you think is the best asset of the American church that Nigeria could use? What is our best asset to you all over there?
Well, I have always believed that investments can be the way out. So the American church can decide to do some major investments for the church, wherein they do something that can reproduce resources. Yeah, helping the churches is good, But when there are investments that can, over time, turn out to bring resources for the church to thrive, is very good. So the American church can decide to embark on projects, which, of course, not just embark on it, they get the project done and they supervise it, the way of coming around to see how it's going, all of that. That's one thing that can happen, because there, people can be employed. People can be employed, and you can be short of resources that are running. The church can now leverage on that and begin to take care of things. Like I said to you, that our economy now, the way economy now, $50, $20 is a lot of money. $50 is a lot of money. For you here, it's nothing. If you put it together and you send it out, it does a lot of things there. What you think is nothing with you is so much out there.
Right.
When it gets there, it does a whole lot. It's just to be able to put it together and channel it in a proper place where it can work for overall of the church ministry. That is what I want to say. And if people can support people in skills, if the leaders can know people in church who know want to do skills and put them in different trades. Recently, there's a young lady who wanted to get into cookery. She wanted to learn how to bake and all of that. And she was able to get in there, we give some support, and there she goes. Other person said, I want to study. So you just take note of what they want to do and take them one after the other. Even while I'm here, they are trying to text and say I should not forget what they're still waiting.
Waiting for?
For you to pay the money for them to go and start their skills, because they have skills they want to get involved in. Okay, in the church, like that. So if they have people who are doing some things, then you know that the church will be thriving. Another problem we have is that a lot of times, for us, for example, we are in a rented place where we pay rent every year. We put money together and hand over to somebody every year. But if we own our own building, it is going to reduce that cost. So the church also can help us in such projects, getting structures, where we can have a house of God without paying rent. So doing business, helping people in their skills, building churches, and of course, talking about even equipment, getting the necessary tools that we need for ourselves. We speak right now, our cameras are stale. The cameras we're using, it's like cameras are using in 1814.
Yeah.
So anytime we have any major programs, we have to go and hire cameras and get things done so that we can have quality.
Right.
So the church also needs to have help in those areas where we can. In fact, food also. The church also can. I see people sending barrels to Jamaica and other places. Nigeria can also send barrels. You can send food. You can send clothes. You can send shoes. Our sister Sharon is almost a Nigerian.
Yeah. She's almost.
No. She is a Nigerian.
She is a Nigerian.
Yeah. So in case you are thinking of who to send, she's here too.
Yeah.
So these are things that you can do to be of help, and the work will go. Because through the media, people are beginning to know that the church is there, and the quality of what you give out is so important. And we cannot be going to hire equipment from people. We need to own our own, and even rent also, if need be. So these are some of the things American church can be of help to us.
Yeah, I think I like the idea of doing business, because I was listening to this one. He's a former Seventh-day Adventist. I think he might be from Uganda. He's always on Facebook. He said that a church purchased a factory and turned the factory into a church, and then asked people to pray for God for jobs. He said that the church should leave the church a factory, employ the people, and find another place to have church. So,
makes sense. Yeah.
Right?
That's right.
So I think we have to think about it in that sense too. It's like, I know there is something that you have, like these children, you have these letters that say that you can have these children eating food for, I think, Sister Dai, you have adopt a child for like $5 a month or something to that effect. save the children, but that's going to just a random person. Imagine if we take $5, let's say we're going to save on whether it's Starbucks or food or what have you, and we can then take some of that fund and put it together, like you said, because I think that we have the resources, and be able to say, okay, could we sponsor maybe 4 young people to get their trade or what have you,
Exactly.
so that it could be helpful to you
Empower them.
and
Empower them
empower them so that they can,
families. Yeah.
yeah, maybe even something like that would be good. Because normally when we talk about doing things in Africa, we think that a building is the only thing, but Levi said, and my brother, they were having this discussion and said that let us build people. You get the right people, and then the right people will be able to have to purchase whatever you want to purchase. So as opposed to going to doing buildings, let's go to human resources. Let's support those individuals. We could send funding to help them to get the schooling, and then we'll say to them like, listen, you need to give back to the church so that when you're finished, the church can be blessed by you. I mean, even here in America too as well. One of the things that I've seen is that a lot of times people come and they pray that God should give them a job, but when they get a job, either they're too tired to come to church, of course, it is interfering with their work, and number two, they're not given in terms of support back to the church that helped them, because we groom people, we give people an opportunity to learn speaking skills. There's skills that you learn, like you can do events. We in the church we started off they started a company called Charm 37, and I always tell them the way that they learned that is that they were complaining that was giving them a lot of work to do, but they were learning how to do skills. They were learning how to do events, doing fundraisers and doing dinners, setting up the tables and doing all that stuff, setting up the table on Saturdays. People don't realize that those soft skills translate into other skills. I learned all of my skills in church. Everything, how to handle people, how to deal with music, how to perform in front of people. I learned that in church, church and school. I didn't have to go someplace to learn that. So by us supporting, human resources, human resources, I think it will be able to help you. What are your immediate needs that you can say now? You said something about the cameras. What else that you would say would be like your immediate needs? Like, and then two, when we were in Nigeria, people don't. It's like they're not talking about poverty the way that we see poverty. That's just the way that they live. That's the way that you live. People not saying "woe is me" and crying that they're in poverty. They, like you said, you're praying because you're going through all this. These people are working because they gotta survive.
That's right.
And I see that they work very hard. So, what are some of the immediate needs that you think that we can help you with? I know you mentioned three things: food, we can do barrels, we can do buildings, we can do helping young people, and we can also provide, technical assistance, that type of thing. That would be what you say would be the overall.
Yes. In the sequence, like I said, in the sequence, when you have young people, human development capital is so important. Um, yeah, that's when you help people, young people who are in church, give them sense of direction. They will not be involved with other vices, with their friends and all of that. Because most times when we have lost some people in church, or young people in church who have gone to some other churches. They tell them over here, they will give you a loan to start. They will give you something to start business. They will teach you that. They will teach you that. And we lost these young people. Why not come to church? Say, I was invited to a church. What are you doing there? I'm learning how to do so and so. And they're saying, for me to get that thing, I have to attend church on Sunday. And we lost them. So if we're able to identify people like that who have those needs, we help them. I have a young man here now in Houston, Texas. Years ago, they used to be in church. I used to literally literally beat them to go and learn drums because I used to force them in church. Go and learn drums. I beat them. They will be running. I beat them. Last time I went to visit, he was telling his children, "This is a man that beat me and gave me blessings." Because he came to America and drums was what he was using to eat. The skill he got. So if we give the young people skills, they will have hope, they will have direction and all of that. And secondly, the airwaves, this air, Zoom, is one of the most powerful ways of the gospel. Right now, we need equipment to get this into the next level. There's a lot of things we want to do with regards to getting the gospel message go. The cameras, as I said, the mixers and all of that. But these people who are in need, of course, are important. And Sister Sharon has been there. We can attest that each time the brethren come from the branches, we have to pay the transport to bring them. When we finish church, we have to buy food, we have to cook for them to eat. If they stay overnight, they have to eat the second time or the third time. Then have to have breakfast. Then we pay another vehicle again to take them back. Otherwise, they will not be able to come to have combined services. So we can also think about having also vehicle like a bus. You have buses here who are roaming around here. We can ship one to Nigeria to help people.
Yeah, we have
Amen.
we have a lot of vehicles here.
Yeah,
So.
you can ship it to Nigeria. And there are people who are in New York who can bring it down. And for food, you can send, anything you send will be useful for the brethren. But more importantly, when they know that brethren in America are helping us, it's a support. This is a plus. I don't mind, no, as I travel around, people say a lot of things that, oh, this man, he's going around and everything he collects is for himself. I don't mind to be accused, all right? But I know what God has called me to do. My job is to ensure that the people of God are balanced. All right, people of God are balanced, and the house of God is going well. So it will be a great thing if our brethren can extend their hands. And I thank you that, thank God, many of you were here, you saw it for yourself. And you talk about Nigeria being a place of scam. Everywhere has scam. But when you came straight and there was no issues. Nobody comes to Nigeria and have any issues. From the airport to where you go and come back, you have no issues at all because we are on ground. We have both the spiritual angels and the physical police people to guide you. You don't have a problem. So I want to encourage everyone who can do whatever you can to do it now that you have the time. And God will help us.
Okay, so I think we heard that, and we can, if you have any questions, that will be good. We can ask in terms of just getting an idea of that. We thank those of the ones who was online. Thank you for joining us. We just wanted to capture this so that we can go back and play it. So thank you all for joining us on that one, and we appreciate you for that.